let's get back to the media and how biased they are or are not. I have a chart that I'm going to show you that's quite similar to the one that is on the wall behind Ari's left shoulder there. But it is an updated version of that chart. And I'm going to attach it in your next assignment so that you can look at it more closely, because I realize that this is, unless your eyes are a great deal better than mine, it's a little bit hard to read that font that small up on the screen. But what you've got here, now this doesn't include Canadian news sites, so Global, CBC, and CTV, which are the main ones, National Post, the Globe and Mail, those all would fall into this broad area here. If you want to just make a note of that for yourself. But these are more global, and global not with a capital G, with a small g. These are more worldwide and American sources. So you can fill in for yourself just kind of mentally that the major Canadian ones, not including the Sun, which would be somewhere down around here. Yeah. But your CBC, CTV, Global News, National Post, and Globe and Mail are all going to be in here. So this is from bottom to top. What you're looking at here is the bottom is unreliable. The top is reliable. The left side is left, and the right side is right. Now, you see CNN here, not terribly biased. So if you, I'll read this out for you. The mainstream here that has minimal partisan bias includes BBC, Washington Post, New York Times, Associated Press, Reuters, USA Today, CBS News, NBC News, The Economist, I would have put The Economist closer to the top there as well. But anything in here, this is good stuff. You can basically trust that stuff. They're not trying to fool you about things. If that kind of makes sense. So then as you move, now some of it, there's a difference between the news reporting content and the editorial content. So some of you noticed in things like the New York Post, or the New York Times or the Washington Post, in your source analyses, you noticed that it's a left-leaning newspaper. Now, editorially, that might be true in terms of, how many opinion writers they have that tend to give left-sided opinions, left-leaning opinions. Steve-O? That is, that's a big, big question. So, that means, yeah, but what does it mean, right? So it's difficult, and it's maybe not entirely fair or accurate that things are called left biased or left-leaning or right biased or right-leaning, because it makes it seem like, well, if you're a liberal, then you have all of the following opinions. And if you're a conservative, you have all of the following opinions. And why should that be? Like, the opinions aren't a basket, you know, and maybe you guys can't relate to this too much, because I don't expect that most of you have, you know, bought a brand new car in your lives yet. But when you buy a car, this is the best comparison I can make. When you buy a car, it used to be in the 50s, 60s, 70s, even 80s, that you ordered the features you want, right? I want one with power locks, but without power windows, with a manual transmission, with chrome side mirrors, with heated seats or not, right? Like you pick the specific things that you want. But now you can't do that. Now it's, you get air conditioning, Sirius XM radio, chrome mirrors, and all of that, or you get nothing at all. Right? You have to pick your options in a basket. And that seems like bullshit to me. I hate it. Because like, if I want the heated seats, then I don't want the chrome. I don't need the chrome. The chrome is stupid, right? But if I want the heated seats, I got to get the chrome too. So I got to pay for all that extra stuff. So that's kind of what the left and right business is like. So there is, to some extent, it's accurate to say that, you know, liberals generally think this way and conservatives generally think this way. Now, I'm using the word liberal and conservative quite apart from the Canadian political party. So don't think Canadian political parties when I say liberal and conservative. This is like broadly philosophically liberal and conservative, in which those parties were named after. So separate it from, like, we're not talking about Justin Trudeau here when we say liberal. Okay, can you guys do that? Yeah. So the conventional way to differentiate that is to say small L liberal or small c conservative. Right? Because if I was talking about the political parties, I would capitalize those. So in other countries, they don't have that same problem. In the States, they don't have a conservative party and a liberal party, but they do have a Democratic Party. And so you have to sometimes clarify small d Democratic or capital D Democratic. They mean very different things, right? So what has happened, and it almost has become a self-fulfilling prophecy, by deciding that small L liberals believe the following things generally, then they almost create a channel that you subscribe to. And so they make it true by saying that it is true. And so it becomes really difficult to think one thing, like, I don't know, LGBT people should have the right to get married. If you think that, then that puts you on the left side. But then, do you have to subscribe to everything else that's on the left side? Well, no, you shouldn't. You shouldn't have to accept all of the opinions on the liberal side in order to accept one. But so you have to kind of make as a future voter, you have to make a decision on what issue or issues are most important to you and vote according to those issues, because you probably shouldn't be lining up 100% with the way that any particular party is saying that these are all the things we believe in. What are the odds that you're going to agree with them 100% on all of those things? If you do, then you're probably not thinking hard enough, right? Like, you're probably not thinking for yourself that much. You know what I mean? Like, there are a lot of opinions out there. The odds that you would have exactly all the same ones should be pretty close to nothing. It should be pretty close to impossible. However, people find it easy to have these sort of prepackaged opinions. I think this, therefore I think all of the rest of these things too. And now I don't have to actually arrive at those opinions by myself. My political party that I believe in has supplied me with all of the opinions that I need. And so instead, it becomes, instead of the people, instead of us telling the political parties what we want, that's supposed to be the idea of democracy, right? It becomes the parties telling us what our opinions are if we are in their club. And you may get the sense that I rather dislike this arrangement. But broadly speaking, well, it's hard to define even broadly the left and the right. But if I say liberal and conservative, does that help somewhat, Steve? A little. So generally speaking, so liberal comes from the word meaning free, from the Latin word meaning free. And so liberals generally want more rights for individuals, more protections for individuals. Conservatives, generally speaking, want to keep things, right? So conservatives want to keep their guns. And so they frame that also in a rights way. I have the right to guns, but that's less of a human right than some sort of a traditional right. So if we are to list the issues that that liberal voters, small L liberal voters, care about most, and small c conservatives care about most, let's see if we can put some of them up here and see if we can clarify this, just to give you guys more of a sense, because I think talking about it philosophically isn't going to help. I think we need to talk about it in a concrete way. So, liberals or conservatives, which one cares more about guns? I've already said this is a conservative issue, right? If people are voting because their opinions about guns, it's because they're conservatives, unless their big issue is gun control. Right? That's considered a left issue. What other issues have we got? What are the things people vote about? The economy, okay? So, broadly speaking, tax cuts. Now, tax cuts aren't exactly a philosophical position. They're a tool to gain votes. Right? Like, it's not so much that they believe in tax cuts. It's that saying you're going to cut taxes automatically gets you votes. Right? So that's kind of a tool. But tax cuts generally are a conservative thing. It's connected to smaller government. So what that means is conservatives generally believe that the government should do less. It should control less and do less, and therefore that they don't need those taxes. So the liberal side would say that be in favor of the government doing more, intervening in things more, controlling things more. Now, this is very much an economic issue, and so if we think about it in terms of well, does it help you guys at all if I use the terms capitalism and socialism, or do I have to go down a rabbit hole of defining those as well?
Yeah, go down there. Yeah.
Go down the rabbit hole? Okay, so is this something where we should actually maybe just stop and back up? And yeah, I think it is actually. Let's stop and back up. Let's stop and back up. So yeah, so that we can all be kind of on the same page about this, because I feel as though maybe your previous social studies teachers have let you down a little bit here, and maybe I assumed that you guys knew more than you did. So I apologize for that. We can do that though. I'm going to, because I'm not prepared to, I don't have notes prepared to talk about the difference between left and right and capitalism and socialism, things like that. I do, however, have some YouTube videos that I've used for that in the past. So I'm going to put on a video to try to explain these ideas to you. Does that sound cool? Okay, let's do it.